I'd like to call this meeting of the WRPS board in session, and I would entertain a motion to reconvene in open session. Moved by Carl, seconded by Sandy. Please indicate your support. Colleagues, that is carried. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples of Canada. What I have learned in walking with Indigenous people is that our relationship to the land should be one of stewardship rather than ownership, and I'm honored to make this journey with them. Does anyone on the board have a declaration of pecuniary interest to declare? Seeing none. Next agenda item is the consent agenda. I would ask, are there any items on the consent agenda 7.1 through 7.4 that any board member would like have taken out and put in the regular agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to pass the consent agenda. Moved by Rosita, seconded by Ian. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. That is carried. We have no business arising from the minutes. Correspondence. Region of Waterloo budget overview and timetable. This is for information. Are there any questions? Seeing none. The next agenda item is police services, board budget. And we need a motion to approve the 2023 board budget. And I will turn the floor over to Jill.
Thank you, Chair Redmond and members of the board. So each year the board is asked to review and approve the annual operating expenses for the board budget. Just to note, the staffing costs are are budgeted separately by finance, so not included in what's coming before you today. So attached is the proposed operating expenses for the 2023 budget. The attached budget was developed following a review of actual expenses from 2019 to 2021, as well as expenses incurred to date in the current fiscal year. So based on this review and a request to submit a budget that contained costs in 2023, the proposed budget is attached for the board's review and consideration. Note that the proposed budget does represent a 0% increase over 2022. As you'll see in the report, there's a couple of lines that required some increases and a couple that I believe we could reduce the budget, and that's based on actuals over the last few years. And in doing that, presenting a budget of a 0% increase. So there's some additional details in the report related to those lines where we're proposing an increase and decrease in expenses. So I'll open it up.
Thank you, colleagues. Ian, go ahead.
Through you, Chair Redmond. I'll be prepared to move this, recognizing this is a placeholder. I gather we will have some more information come back at our September meeting. So just as a placeholder, but under that basis is that it's a placeholder, and we'll revisit and have more information and finalize it in September. Then I'll move the motion if that's the case.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll second that motion.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? So we will revisit this in the fall, colleagues. So it's been moved and seconded. If I could see an indication of support for moving this. That is carried. Thank you, colleagues. The next item up is WRPS Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Unit Update. And Deputy Crowell, are you going to introduce this?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Redmond and members of the board. I'm very pleased to present a good news story to the board to announce that we have successfully acquired a very talented individual to help to lead our EDI journey moving forward. After an extensive search led by an executive talent firm and in large part by our manager of labor relations, Chris Nutt, we have determined that Ms. Geraldine Stafford will be our new manager of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Ms. Stafford is joining us after a very successful career as a senior manager at Bell Canada. Over the past couple of years, she has led a number of their EDI initiatives, including program development, training, strategic initiatives, and incorporating all these practices into their internal and external mission and business practices. Geraldine is a proud resident of our region. She has been on local committees and boards, including the Regional Waterloo's Anti-Racism Advisory Group. She's also held positions as a senior policy advisor in the government for the government of Grenada through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Consular Office in Toronto. And she has a range of policy and paralegal experience with the City of Brampton and the Crown Attorney's Office. Geraldine joins us at a crucial time in our organization's continuance and commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion initiatives. She will assist with the replenishment of our team that's had some staffing changes and challenges over the past couple of years, and also the wrapping up of our 2-year or 3-year EDI plan and the development of a new plan. Geraldine was gracious to join us today for a brief introduction to the board. And we're very pleased to welcome her talent, her experience, her energy. You will get to know her in future endeavors. We're very convinced that her professionalism and her wide range of volunteer and personal experience will help to open a very promising chapter for the service and the board's commitment to this work. So very pleased to introduce Geraldine and welcome you, Geraldine, to provide just a couple words of welcoming and your sense of purpose in joining our service. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I'll preface, I've been sick for about a week. So this is a good day today. So I've been emailing Mark quite a bit, but just very so extremely excited to be part of the organization. Basically bred in Waterloo region, went to St. Mary's and was an all-girls school. So the region is in my blood. Just so very excited, just the progressive nature of the Waterloo Regional Police Services, and just ultra excited to see that progression. And I'm sort of being parachuted into something that is so great. And I think I'm probably bugging Mark every day on things that I'm reading, things that I'm seeing, but just so excited to just be a part of it and to really be an agent for change and to relieve the pain points, to celebrate the wins. We win together, we lose together, whatever it is. I'm all about the team, and I have to say, only been a warm welcome from everybody. Even when I went to the multicultural festival, I'm saying hello to everybody, all the team members, the service members, and just the look and expression of just happiness to have me part of the team. And when I talk a little bit about my mandate and the teamwork that I see us going forward with, just dovetailing off of the great things that are already being done, just pure excitement. I really can't wait.
So Geraldine, I would just, on behalf of the board, like to offer our words of welcome and my personal words of welcome, because you and I have worked together at the region's Anti-Racism Advisory Working Group. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you that if I was going to describe you, I would describe you as progressive and effective. And I have been very impressed with your work as part of that community group and doing some very heavy lifting in somewhat uncharted waters. So I know that you will have a vast array of skills and experience to bring to WRPS, and we certainly welcome you. This is a very important issue that helps define our culture as a community and as a service. So welcome aboard. It's great to see you in this position.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I look forward to also working with you and the board as well.
Thank you so much. And do take care. I'm glad it's a good day, but you can tell that you've had a little bit of a cold.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you and welcome aboard. Our next agenda item is race-based data collection strategy update and draft policy. So colleagues, there is a motion required to approve this strategy. And I believe, I don't know who's going to introduce this, but Kate Richardson and Dr. Mandy Williams are here.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. I can introduce Kate and Mandy, and a lot of work has gone into this. And yes, we're looking for some approvals today on the policy, and we'll turn it over to Kate and then Mandy. And if there's any questions at the end, I'll answer those. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Redmond and members of the board. This morning, Mandy's going to walk you through a very high-level presentation that we put together to kind of summarize where we're at with the race-based data collection strategy and focus specifically on the policy and next steps. I just am doing a brief overview just to kind of mention all of the work that has been led by Dr. Mandy Williams, working in close collaboration with Dr. Lauren Foster and Dr. Les Jacobs over the 6 months. I'm hoping the board will see the tremendous progress that we've made on this strategy, and Mandy's going to walk us through kind of where we're at now and what's next in terms of engagement with our members as well as engagement with our community. Mandy?
Great, thank you very much. Good morning, Chair Redmond and members of the board. And today I'm going to talk to you about our race-based data collection strategy, assuming I can share my lovely screen here. Right, there we are. So our race-based data collection strategy is designed to address systemic racism. So systemic racism occurs when institutions or systems create or maintain racial inequality, often as a result of hidden institutional biases, policies, practices, and procedures that privilege some groups and disadvantage others. Systemic racism occurs within social systems and is reproduced by them. It is possible to remove all the individual bad apples within an organization, yet still have disadvantage because in the policies, institutional practices, cultural representations, and other norms work in reinforcing ways to perpetuate racial inequalities. In 2017, the Anti-Racism Act came into effect with the purpose of addressing systemic racism and promoting equity. The corresponding data standards for the identification and monitoring of systemic racism were released in 2018 to provide public service organizations guidance on how to collect race-based data for the purpose of measuring, monitoring, addressing, and eliminating systemic racism. In December 15, 2021, the board approved a 3-year academic partnership with Dr. Lauren Foster and Dr. Les Jacobs to develop a race-based data collection strategy to produce concrete actions and accountability mechanisms to address systemic racism and discrimination, and to continue to inform the goals and objective of WRPS's strategic business plan and the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion strategic plan. So I'm pleased to present today the 6-month update on this strategy. Collecting and analyzing race-based data and other social identity data is one tool that can be used to uncover where systemic racism might exist. Observed patterns within this data will help to determine the scope of the problem and whether individuals with particular social identities are disproportionately represented within selected interactions in our systems. The contributing factors within WRPS, the policies, procedures, and operational practices that might be responsible for such patterns in the data, the training needs and appropriate approaches to service delivery across different communities, and serve as a starting point for conversations with the community and WRPS members to strengthen trust, accountability, and transparency. The scope of the work for the 3-year academic partnership includes establishing opportunities for community and WRPS member engagement to provide feedback on analyses and inform action planning, and designing the scope and methodology for data collection and analysis, including identification of data requirements and data sources within selected interactions. So I will review some of the highlights we've achieved so far over the past 6 months. The data analyst in equity, diversity, and inclusion, who's the project manager, was pleased to join you in March 2022. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And we designed a project charter that was created and released. In terms of member engagement, we have an internal website and area directive that are now live and launched. We've written up pieces that have been published within WRPS membership publications and outlets. And we have introduce the strategy in our academic partners at senior and mid-leader meetings. In terms of data collection and analysis, contextual information is being entered into the reporting of intelligence notes in 2022 on a quarterly basis. And there's ongoing discussion about the appropriate benchmark comparisons that will help us better understand the source of disparities within data. We also conducted a follow-up audit on the 2020 audit that involves search of persons, and we are looking at the quality of data sources within that. What we can look forward to over the next 6 months, we're going to really start ramping up our community engagement, which is very exciting. So we'll present the strategy and discuss it at community panels in the fall. And we wish to present the draft of the policy at this event to ensure that feedback from the community is incorporated into the work that we will be doing. We are going to convene an advisory panel to inform the race-based data collection strategy early next year. And we will create and launch an external website to share key information and documentation with the members of the community. Through this, WRPS will identify the urgent community needs that can be addressed through this strategy. We will continue with our member engagement, both in kind of informal and formal learning engagement points. And we are on the in-service training schedule, which is mandatory training for our membership in 2023. And for data collection and analysis, we'll continue to improve our analytic framework and formalize it, which will center race within all the interactions and the intersection of race between different demographic variables. And we'll conduct pilot studies to better understand the context behind what might be driving the data in our selected interactions. Our academic partners recommended having a board policy to provide formal guidance for the effective management and regulation of race-based data collection strategy. Through this policy, the board will recognize the importance of partnering with persons with lived experiences, community organizations, public sector agencies, not-for-profit agencies, academics, and the WRPS membership to develop a strategy to improve our collective understanding of systemic racism in policing and eliminate disparities where possible. An important component of this policy is that it promotes transparency and accountability in how policing services are delivered. This is necessary for continuing to build community trust and engagement. The purpose of the policy is to use race-based data collection, analysis, and public reporting to identify, monitor, and eliminate potential systemic racism in police-public interactions, identify equitable service delivery that can be used to inform best practice, advance the development of equitable policies, procedures, services, and initiatives, help the service to partner with other police services and public service organizations in the interest of informing, sharing information and making evidence-based comparisons across different sectors, and create an evidence-based foundation upon which to create awareness, educate our community and member, and to inform change at the local, provincial, and national level that is responsive to the voices of racialized communities and individuals. By design, the purpose of the Anti-Racism Act and WRPS's race-based data collection strategy is to identify and monitor systemic racism and racial disparities for the purpose of eliminating systemic racism and promoting equality and address systemic issues. This is in line with the human rights approach and has several key benefits, including making system and organizational changes. Changing the environment has the biggest impact on what people do. Take, for example, strip searches conducted by Toronto Police Service. In 2020, prior to policy change stemming from the Golden Report, Toronto Police were strip searching 27% of people arrested. In 2021, post-policy, 4.9% of arrests ended up in a search, a dramatic drop. This decrease was most pronounced for Indigenous and Black individuals. Pre-policy, around 26% of Black and Indigenous people were arrested were strip searched. Post-policy, this dropped to around 2%. Focusing on the organization as compared to individuals will have the most impact on changing behavior. Human rights approach is forward-looking versus backward-looking. So here what we're doing is we're using data to identify problems and solutions. So it's a forward-looking approach that seeks to change the underlying factors that contribute to disparities. So we see that from that Toronto example that altering the environment, altering the policy led to the greatest change in behavior across the organization. The human rights approach allows us to examine interconnected systems. Racism and discrimination is a long-standing problem in all of our systems. For example, policing, justice, health, education, housing, and on and on. The policing community is taking active measurements and a leadership role to address, but it's not the problem to solve on our own. In this model, we are able to ask for help from others, which we will humbly do so. Because the data standards require all public service organizations to collect and report on the same data, comparisons across other systems within the region and provincially, and police services across Ontario are possible. What this means is that we'll be able to inform change to address the legacy of disadvantage both within policing services and upstream across other organizations. And finally, a human rights approach promotes high quality data and dialogue. Everyone, including community members, police officers, and other agencies, is seen as accountable for problem solving and solution generation to create a roadmap that will seek to eliminate racism and discrimination. We look forward to working with individuals and agencies across Waterloo region to identify sustainable solutions. And as noted by our academic partners, sharing trustworthy findings, you're able to seek feedback from the community, from the board and others that will result in actionable insights that address issues of highest concern to the community. So we welcome this feedback and will continue to develop many ways for the public to share their feedback with us. Another notable thing is that we're working in support of our independent partners. So we have expert academics, Dr. Lauren Foster and Dr. Les Jacobs, who have many years experience applying a human rights approach when working with police services. And so far they're in support of our strategy. So that's the strategy in a nutshell. Thank you.
There's just one more thing I wanted to add is just to stress that we are recommending on the advice of our partners, Dr. Foster and Dr. Jacobs, that we take a draft of this policy of the board and use it as a focus point for our community consultations. And then once we have that feedback, we'll return to the board and provide an overview of what that feedback was, as well as perhaps some friendly amendments for you to consider based on that feedback. So just a clarification to the resolution that if you're approving the policy today, it will remain in draft, but we want your support to move it forward to community consultation.
So I want to thank Kate and Dr. Williams very much. And I can't tell you, Kate, how important I think that last piece was. So the recommendation before us is the Waterloo Regional Police Services Board approved policy 103, race-based data collection strategy. And I would say in draft form as included in the board report, and that this will be coming back. I think that was a very important strategic piece of going forward in authentic community consultation. So I'm really encouraged by that. Are there any questions or comments? Remember, the chief said he would answer all the hard questions. So Sandy, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start off, Chief, just for you. My question is about collaboration. So you talked a lot about collaborating across different groups and so on. And we just were introduced to our new manager of EDI. So could you connect those two dots for me? How is our EDI unit engaged in this particular process? Because it feels like there should be some synergies there. And so.
Yes, thank you. I mean, there is a connection because we're going to need to be connecting with the community groups that are out there and the different diverse groups that are out there as well. And Kate's got a strong hold on that as to what we need to do and who we need to be speaking to and working with the professors. And so there will be some intersection there between the work that Geraldine's doing and the work that Kate's doing and team are doing. Kate, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just add that we're already partnered with the EDI office. So we've been working closely with Staff Sergeant Eric Boyton and the team that is in place. And we've been eagerly awaiting the arrival of Geraldine Stafford and can't wait to work with her as well. She will have a large leadership role in our race-based data collection strategy, working closely with Dr. Mandy Williams and Dr. Foster and Dr. Jacobs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carl, go ahead.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the presentation, Kate and Mandy. And I'm really liking the format and the process. I think it's going to be good. I'm wondering, do we have an understanding, or do we know if there's other police services using the same format or following the same type of thing? Do we have any idea of that?
Yeah, it's a common standard across the province of Ontario right now as to how this is being looked at and how the data is being collected. Kate, anything further on that?
I just add that we're working closely on a community of practice with other police services who are also working with academics like Dr. Foster and Dr. Jacobs, includes Toronto, Ottawa, Durham. I know I'm forgetting people, but it's a lot of the large police services. The OACP Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee is also plugged into this. So we see lots of collaboration, and hopefully, as you know, all police services Ontario can come to a common framework that we're all working from and move this forward, and then spread it to our other partners and other sectors as well.
Thanks, Kate and John. Thank you.
Colleagues, I see no further hands. Would somebody like to move and second this? So moved by Karen Schnarr, seconded by Rosita. Please indicate your support for endorsement of this draft report, and this will be coming back to us. That is carried. Thank you, colleagues. And again, Kate and Mandy, thank you very much. That's very exciting. I guess the other piece for me, Kate, I don't know, do you want to add something?
I was just going to say thank you.
Is the fact that if other police boards are doing it, just jumping off of Carl's question, then we'll be able to sort of compare and contrast and you know, chart our progress on a much bigger scale, a landscape. So that's really good to hear. So that is passed, colleagues. Next agenda item, the Strategic Business Plan Progress Report number 3. Chief, over to you.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. And for this report, we're going to hear from Mark Glode and Amanda Franceschini, who you all know very well and put a lot of work into this. So I'll turn it over to Mark and Amanda.
Good morning, board, and thank you, Chief Goodman. As you know, Amanda is really the mastermind behind keeping us on track with the progress of our strategic business plan. We are midway through our 3-year plan, and I'll just turn it over briefly to Amanda to provide a few highlights from the report that you would have received in your package. Thank you.
Thank you. I am pleased to present 7 completed objectives under 2 particular pillars of innovation and operational excellence. So yes, at the midpoint of the plan, we're happy to focus on the positive and celebrate some successes. Each of these completed objectives comes with a description, a brief summary made possible by regular updates that our positions accountable are making internally on a quarterly basis. So it really captures a running narrative while they're working on these objectives. And it's linked back to the theory of change. So when we identified a problem that could turn into an opportunity at the outset, we didn't want to just be outputs based, but outcomes based. So there's always a bigger picture where we were trying to move the dial. So where possible, there's both the SMART principles and metrics referenced in these descriptions, but also what was the bigger thing we were trying to achieve. So focusing on the positive, all of these objectives that are completed are products or processes that we didn't have before, or at least not to the same degree. And where did these objectives come from? Remember, they came from either legislative requirements that we should address in our plan. They were informed by statistics and trends we were seeing. They've been informed by our community survey, our member survey, and our senior leader and board consultations. So of particular interest may be the objectives that help us address the violent crime, road safety, and clearance rates that we identified at the beginning of the plan. Our senior leadership team is also meeting on a regular basis to discuss progress. While we are at the midpoint of the plan with 7 completed objectives, internally we aren't experiencing any concerns or roadblocks. Naturally, many of the objectives are going to fall in the last year for completion as we continue to monitor stats and outputs. It may take year 1 to have our baseline, year 2 to see how our efforts are initiating some change, and year 3 to have that time point comparison. So naturally, there will be more that fall in the last year for completion. At this point, I can open it up to field any questions.
So colleagues, this is for information. Do we have any questions? It's really great, Amanda and Mark, to see the progress that is an accumulation of weeks and weeks of work. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments? So again, this is for information. I'd like to thank Amanda and Mark, and Chief, I don't know if you have any closing remarks, or we'll just go on to budget timelines.
No, there's been a lot of work done, and we rely so heavily on the work of Mark and Amanda and their unit, and we're just so grateful to have them. So thanks a lot for all your work.
Thank you. The next agenda item, again for information, is budget timelines 2023. Chief, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Redmond. And for this, we'll call on Ms. Kirsten Hand, who everyone knows very well, to go through that budget timeline for you.
Welcome, Kirsten.
Good morning. So the report before you identifies the budget timetable, and it also incorporates the information that you received from the region. So our budget process has already kicked off here. So we're in the midst of it right now, pulling information together. The timeline assumes that we would go to the board first with information at the November board meeting. Now that is 1 month later than normal years, and that's due to the municipal election. So we would go forward before the board in November, December, and looking for approval in January. The region has identified an early January presentation date to them in relation to the budget, and the region will be looking to approve the budget on February 8th. From an operating budget perspective, we did do a high-level forecast incorporating some of the elements that I took you through last month, including inflation, rising fuel prices. We factored in some of the collective agreement, cost of living, other salary adjustments, phased in increases to our benefits, annualization of our 35 sworn members, the removal of the one-time funding from our 2021 operating budget surplus and the benefit stabilization reserve. We also included some known or estimated investments required in some of our key projects that Amanda took you through. So digital evidence management system, body-worn in-car video, human resource information system, next generation 911, and a new public safety communication center. And we continue to look at strategies to look at reserve contributions to lower reliance on debentures, and also factoring an estimated cost for new central that's anticipated to come online for a full year next year. So based upon that information, and that this excludes any resource expansion and or program enhancements separate from the strategic business plan investments, it also does not include any assessment growth that might be allocated to us from the region. Right now, the estimate in 2023 is approximately 8%, and 2024 and 2025 is approximately 3%. So this information is before you as information at this point, but once we receive more updated information from the region in terms on the timing of the presentation to council, we will come back to the board with an update. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Are there any questions or comments? I can't tell you how gratifying it is, Kirsten, to know that you actually love this process and that you do 12 months of the year. The rest of us sort of, start at budget, and then when the budget is passed, we move on to other things, and you keep beavering away at this. So thank you for continuing to bring us information. Even though it's not always great information about inflation and fuel prices, it's really important that we're aware of that as we go through the process. So thank you for this ongoing information. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again. The next agenda item is a monthly Chief of Police report. So over to you, Chief Goodman.
Thank you very much. At this point, I just want to thank you and the board for allowing me this opportunity. I'm extremely humbled by it. I've been explaining it to Mark and Shirley. It's like I've been given the keys to a Maserati, and I got a few months to drive it around, and I got to bring the keys back and make sure there's no dents and the car is refueled. And for those of you who know me, there might be a dent or a scratch, but we'll get through it. And I also want to thank Shirley and Mark for all their support. It's been incredible. It's only been a week in the chair, but boy, have they ever looked after me, as has Stephanie Weaver and Sherry Greeno and others. So I'm just very thankful for this opportunity, and I'll do my very best for you. At this point, then I would like the Yippee class to turn on their camera. So you'll remember last year, we had our first initial youth and policing initiative. And at the end of the program, you got to meet 2 of our graduating students, maybe 3. It might have been 3 graduating students. So this year, we'd like to change it up a little bit. And we like to introduce you to the 12 wonderful young people from our community who are here with us for the next 8 weeks for the Yippee program. We are going to learn from them as much as they are going to learn from us. And it's all about leadership and teamwork. And then hopefully one day when they're old enough, they'll become members of our service. So Sherry, I'll turn it over to you and your team, and we'll get some introductions done.
Thanks, Chief Goodman. I have our digital content coordinator in the classroom with them, and I think the video has now started. So I think you can see a group shot kind of them now. They're a group of 13, so it's hard to get them all in the same shot, but they're going to come up individually and just tell you a little bit about themselves. So I will turn it over to the classroom.
Hi, I'm Henny. I go to WCI, and I'm most excited about the fire department and like how things just work around the police station. Because like even from such a young age, I was always like in police. Because like my Africa. So yeah, nice to meet y'all.
Hi, my name is Khalid. I'm 15 years old. I go to Cameron Heights, and I'm excited to learn more about the police force and how they operate.
Hi, my name is Firdausa. I just graduated from high school, and I'm really excited about the rotation and the placement.
Who's that? Dale James Williamson. I go to Jacob Hesler Secondary School, and I'm excited for this because I see a future in law enforcement for myself.
It's Hamza. I go to WCI, and I'm excited to learn more about the police from behind the scenes.
Hi, I'm Luis. I go to Eastwood. I'm 15, and I'm really excited to work with everyone and get to know lots of officers.
Hi, my name is Zaina, and I just graduated from Laurel Heights, and I'm mostly excited about 911 dispatcher.
Hi, my name is Darius. I go to Forest Heights, and I'm excited to learn a lot about force and hopefully be an officer when I'm older.
Hi, my name is Amy, and I go to Laurel Heights in grade 10. And I'm most excited about learning more about the police, how it works, and also joining the community.
Hi, my name is Abdulrazak. I'm excited to learn about more about the police and want to join the force.
I'm going to Cameron Heights. I'm excited to see what they look like.
Hi, my name is Abdul. I go to Laurel Heights. I'm 15, and I'm excited to learn about the vaccines.
Thank you, Chief. That's all 12.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, you group. Have a great week, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for Sherry for putting this together for us. Really well done. So we go from this week, we have our youth in, and then last week we had 3 young children in who had won the competition for why they want to be the chief of the day. And so we had Chief Amir, we had Deputy Chiefs Lena and Landon who came in. They toured around. We showed them emergency tactical services. We talked traffic, communications. And the big thing that came out from them was that they wanted to be here because they just want to help the community the same way we do. So it was a really good event, which then leads into the backpack challenge that we've just started now as well. So we're into the July, August. We're looking for, I'm born and raised in this community, been here a lot of years. I'm an old man. But the community here is so supportive, and we're hoping again. I mean, we've raised upwards of 5,000 backpacks in the last 4 years that we've done this challenge. We're hoping again that we can match that. Times are tough for some folk right now. You know, things are expensive. And so any kind of support that the community can provide us right now in terms of backpacks and items for school will be greatly appreciated. And we'll be doing that again through the months of July and August so that we can have those kids suited up for school in the month of September. If we start to look at some of our operational things that have occurred in the month of June, traffic services were very invested and very busy with 17 collisions, which resulted in injuries to 7 different people. As the summer has come and the weather has changed and the modified vehicles are hitting the road, stunt driving charges are up 17%. So we have initiatives on that as well right now in place over the summer to curb that. I mean, one of the main complaints that we get a lot of times from folks is the loud mufflers, and especially, you know, in the downtown and uptown areas when it's bouncing off the towers, it sounds really loud. So we get dealing with a lot of those complaints. So we're dealing with that. We did a commercial vehicle blitz that resulted in 177 commercial vehicles being taken and inspected, with 73 of those vehicles being taken out of service. And those are incredible numbers when you think of it, the number of those big vehicles that are out on the road driving around. And we pull over 177 and take 73 out of commission, which is almost insane. And 122 charges were laid. And it was a great initiative because we partnered with our other police services like the OPP, Guelph. And it was just a really good 2 days of work there. When we look at some of our other charges right now on the road, impaired driving is up by 6%, which is a bit disturbing. You would think people would learn that by now to stop. Our dangerous driving charges are up by 11%, and our seatbelt charges, I can't believe this one, are up by 42%. Seatbelt law has been in place for such a long time that to be up 42% is not good. So we just ask the community, slow down, you know, put your seatbelts on, drop your phones, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the day, and arrive alive. So that would be the message that I would have there. In terms of our officer good work, you heard a lot of things from Shirley and Close, but I mean, we had an incident back on June 28th where a young lady was about to jump off a balcony, and our officers engaged very quickly and were able to put her in a bear hug and hold her up against the balcony and save her life, which was incredible work. And even though she continued to fight us, we were able to get her help that she needed. If we follow what's going on around the globe right now and what's happening in Canada with the number of events involving officers where officers are being shot, if you look at what happened in Saanich, BC, with 6 officers being shot, 1 is still in critical condition. I mean, it's no different here. We've had some incidents in the month of June that are very disturbing. We had an impaired driver who refused to stop, actually drove at our cruisers, drove at our officers. We finally got this individual under arrest. They were a 22-year-old male, and this was his 3rd impaired driving charge this month. Like, so for our officer safety piece, it's not good. And then we had the fireworks in July there, where we had a male out on the streets in Waterloo firing off rockets at the community, at community members and our officers, and actually struck one of our vehicles with one of his fireworks. Again, the work that we do every day is dirty, it's dangerous. And but our folks are engaged, and they're the first ones to jump in and get the job done. From an investigative services piece, you heard about in the closed report the number of gun calls we've gone to in the last month. I mean, our break-enter and vehicle theft team, our robbery team, and our drug and firearms team have done some incredible work in the month of June, getting guns off the street, getting drugs off the street. Shirley talked about the chop shop and getting people their vehicles back and things like that. So some just incredible work from our investigative units. Can't be prouder of them. And as we go into the summer, and this is my first meeting, maybe my last meeting, depends on you and how I do, but we're going into the summer. It's July, August, and we'll be back together in August, and we look forward to all the students coming back. And so we have some plans in place for that, for safe semester. And we look forward to seeing everybody again in September. And we wish you all a great summer. And that's it for the chief.
Thank you, Chief Goodman. Karen.
Thank you so much, Chief Goodman, for your report. And I'm going to ask you probably about, the easiest piece of this, because I love the backpack challenge, and this is just an opportunity for a little promotional thing. So, if we wanted to get in and contribute I personally am going to go ahead and get 10 backpacks to donate to this. Where should I take it, Chief? Where should it go? What kinds of things are you looking for? Just a little public service here so that we can get the message out as widely as possible.
No, I appreciate that. You can drop them off at any one of our divisions. Come into the front desk, drop them off there. You can drop them off at headquarters. Sherry loves it when her office is full to the ceiling of backpacks. So anything, pencils, paper, erasers, lunch boxes, anything that a child or a youth would need for school would be greatly appreciated.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's such an awesome initiative.
Thanks.
So I will go to Tony, but colleagues on the board, I think that's a throwdown by Dr. Schnarr. She's doing 10. Tony.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I felt that it should be noted, although it was under the consent agenda, and the service is constantly looking at some of the challenges, and the last 2 years have been very challenging and trying to maintain safety in the community. There were letters of appreciation. And I think sometimes we need to take a moment to have some celebrations. And I felt that this is an appropriate time to commend the chief, the deputies, and the entire members of the service for the extraordinary work you do, because the letters of appreciation were very broad. I went through all of them. They're from different parts of our community, outside our community, and really underscore the great things that the members of our service do. So I want to commend yourselves as well as the members of the service, because we would not get letters of appreciation. I think we should highlight more of these celebrations as we move forward. So thanks to all of you, and I commend you on your hard work.
Thank you, Tony. Ian.
Through you, Chair Redmond, I'd echo that. I was astounded by the as you described, the breadth of letters and comments that came in. And I think we should add one for Chief Goodman, because his report is by some measure shorter than the chief's. The chief doesn't see, your predecessor didn't say in 2 words what he could say in 27. So your brevity is shortening our meeting. So congratulations on that. But thank you to you for stepping in, and to the service, to Mark and Shirley and your team. Those letters of recommendation or commendation or appreciation are speak volumes of the work that you do in the community.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Make sure our members get that messaging as well.
So Chief Goodman, I know it is your character to be a bit self-deprecating, but I cannot think of you and not recognize the strong relationships and the networks you have within the community. And I know that is something that is a value expressed by this police service and leadership, as well as the rank and file, both uniform and non-uniform. But I always think of you, and I think of community policing and a community-based approach. Excuse me. You do reflect the values and the culture of a very progressive police service, and we welcome you to this position. And nobody knows what they're getting into till they get into it. You have 3 or 4 days in, and you're still on the job. So I commend you for stepping up so quickly. I know you'll do a great job, and I know that both deputies will be there to be your, I was to say wingmen, but that's sort of gender specific. So wing people, I guess. So with a wing on a left and a wing on the right, Chief Goodman, I'm sure you'll soar.
No, I truly appreciate that, Chair, and we have a very good team here, and we have some good chemistry going on right now. So we're looking forward to the future.
So thank you very much. It was great to meet the Yippee students, and I'm assuming that's youth in policing something, because if it was just like Yippee, it would have 2 E's on the end, right?
It's Youth in Policing Initiative.
Thank you. It was great to meet those young people. I'm sure they will be great contributors to our community, whether or not they become part of WRPS. Colleagues, I see any new business? Future agenda items? Information and items? So I would just let any media that are on the call or would like to use the Zoom login details that were provided. Chief Goodman and I will be available to answer questions afterwards. And we will turn the stewardship over to Sherry after we have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Karen, seconded by Carl. All those in favor? Thank you, colleagues. Great meeting, and